Welcome to the Six Figure Personal Stylist podcast, the ultimate no BS business podcast for ambitious personal stylists ready to build a six-figure and beyond personal styling business. You won't hear the typical snooze fest business advice that most personal stylists get told all of the time. Nope, instead, I'll be sharing business building strategies that will help you create a killer personal brand, a cult following of loyal personal styling clients, and make a ton of cash while creating lasting style transformations for your clients. I'm Nicole Achi, your host and a former personal stylist of 14 years who built a lucrative styling business in 3 major cities, but only after spending years trying to crack the six-figure styling business code without burning out. And now I'm here to tell you how to do exactly the same. Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of what is very quickly becoming one of my favorite types of episodes, which is conversation with one of my clients. This is Marie Zydek. Marie is a Canadian-based personal stylist who has been a stylist for over a decade when we started working together. And as she shares in this episode, she came to me at a point in her business where she was financially doing very well. She had a really long roster of clients from her extensive years as a stylist. And all of those things can be true, and your business cannot feel the way you want it to feel. And that's why I encourage stylists at every single level to really be intentional about how they build their business for their life at any given point, because that is a huge part of the success of your business, how you feel in it. Marie shares in this episode how she came to me after going viral several times, which to some people that sounds like an amazing gift. And the reality of it, I've seen more often than not for stylists, is it's not the gift that we think it is, because if your business is not set up with the systems and the messaging and sort of the ability to know who the right client is for you and be able to figure that out in a sales call quickly, then you're going to have these months of income that seem quite high, but they're not repeatable. And they don't necessarily lead to more of the right type of clients. So I really encourage you to take as much wisdom from Marie as you can in this episode. She's an incredible marketer. She has a real gift for it. And she just has such a warm and kind spirit that it's not a surprise that she's attracted so many clients in her over a decade of working as a stylist. Enjoy. Hello, welcome. I am very excited to have Marie, one of my clients, here to talk about our experience working together. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me. It is so good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I miss seeing my clients after the engagement ends. It's always hard to end.
Yeah.
So let's kick this off with the question I ask every guest, which is kind of share a little bit about your background as a stylist and sort of what led you to come to me.
Okay, so I've been a personal stylist for almost 12 years. I started out as a blogger back when there was no Instagram, no TikTok. I think maybe there was Twitter, but anyways, I started off as a blogger, and then I met other fashion industry professionals through blogging. And then I got into assisting a stylist on set, on shoots with models for their portfolio. And then I had a friend, also a fellow blogger, who got into personal styling. And I was like, that's so interesting. But I didn't really have the confidence to do that. But to make a long story short, I was on set styling a photo shoot. And the hairstylist says, hey, I have a client that wants someone to go through her closet and then take her shopping. Do you do that? And I said, yeah, I do, but I'd never done it before in my life, but you fake it till you make it. And so, so she was my first client. And then she recommended me to her colleague. I got a website up and running, and I did it part-time for a long time until after I went back to work. So I was working in an office for about 10 years. And after I had my son, I was back to work from maternity leave. And about 2 months after that, I was let go. And so that was my sign to try and do this full time, my personal styling business. And so that's what I did. It was one door shut, another door opened. And I've been a full-time personal stylist, I'd say, for the past 4 years, where I have a good income to be called full-time stylist.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I forgot that you you were kind of part-time and then you went full-time. In my head, you've always, like, you came out the gate
Oh yeah.
full-time because
No.
you're such an experienced stylist, but you can be experienced to be part-time. So
Yeah.
tell me, what you were 4 years into full-time, we'll call it.
Yeah.
What were you you were at a pretty successful part of your business. So what was going on that led you to think maybe there's something more here for me?
Okay. So I'll back up a little bit, because what I'm about to say is very important for where I am now and what was the reason that I reached out to you. So during the pandemic, I got a TikTok account, and I started posting videos, like styling videos, when I was at my clients' houses, putting outfits together. And then there was a couple of videos that I did. They went viral. So one went viral in 2021 with 1.5 million views. And then another one went viral in 2022 with 2.4 million views. So I was getting all these clients via TikTok. Like, I was getting inundated with, oh, I want to work with you. And, and a lot of them were international. A lot of them were American. And I'm in Canada, by the way. And so I had like all this business. It was great. But the clients that I had were kind of like one-off clients. And I had so many different packages, different services, kind of one-off services. And I was getting just kind of burnt out. So I do my in-person clients during the day. And then at night, I would do the virtual clients. And it was just go, go, go. I was getting burnt out. I was feeling like I wasn't charging enough. And then fast forward to like 2023, I was kind of feeling just stalled in my business. And I knew something had to change. Like, creatively, I was kind of feeling not at my best. Mm-hmm. And I also, I thought at this point in my career, I've been doing it for almost 12 years. I think, I might want to increase my rates and my packages. And I just felt like I couldn't do it alone. I feel like creatively, like creating Instagram posts and reels and TikToks, like that was easy for me. But like the business side of things, I felt kind of lost. And so I was looking for a business coach. And as soon as I came across your Instagram page, you like spoke to me. Like, every post, I was just binging your content. Every post spoke to me. And I was like, Nicole's my girl. So that's when I reached out to you.
You were in such a fascinating point, because when you talk about going viral, I cannot tell you how many clients that I've worked with are like, if I could just go viral, that would save the day. Or if I could even get more clients if I could get a bigger audience, if I could get more views, everything would change. And I think when I worked with you, and there's one other client I worked with that went viral multiple times, it actually can create a ton of chaos and stress. Yeah. Because if you don't have the business plan, the visibility is useless, right? Because you're just scattered, you're just creating things. So talk a little bit about sort of that experience of going viral and having all these people reach out. What were those sales calls like? Like, were you getting some of the right people, or was it, you think, less about the people and more about the fact that the business wasn't set up for that level of influx?
I was getting some really good clients that were serious about working with me, and but also just like some one-offs. So I'd go on sales calls and talk about my services, and they're like, well, do you do like rent the runway? Just like we weren't on the same page a lot of times. And then other clients were just like, well, I don't know what my style is. I just want to discover my style, and then like that's it. Like, it wasn't my services weren't very in depth for some of those people, right? So I kind of just felt like, okay, well, I'm working with them quickly and then off they go. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it was very stressful because, yes, I was dealing with like sales calls and emails and just, all of this. And it was really stressful. And then when my views, because of the algorithm, declined, then my business kind of, decreased a little bit, because I don't know if it's because of that. Probably not. But I thought it was a factor, right?
Yeah. Well, I think what happens is that we get used to whatever the norm is. And if the norm becomes 12 sales calls a week or whatever, then it will decline. The other part of this that I think is interesting that you kind of touched on, but not explicitly, is when you have this much volume coming at you, you have a lot more administrative tasks. And that can eat up so much time. And it's also something most stylists aren't pricing for. Like, most stylists are only pricing for the time they're with a client. And that may mean that they're not pricing for their admin time. They're not thinking about, well, what about the time it takes me to market, right? Because there's a cost to your marketing, like your time, if you're marketing and you can't get new clients, like it's all of that is part of the rates that stylists should be considering, right? Because if you didn't have a business, you wouldn't be doing those things and you'd be making money in another way. So those hours for admin or marketing or things that are not necessarily face-to-face have to be accounted for. And that was definitely something we did for you because you were so experienced and we just had to put some systems in place too, I think.
Yeah.
That was part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I didn't have an onboarding guide. I didn't have an offboarding guide. I wasn't set up on Calendly, like all these things, these simple things that you think as a business owner, you should have set up already. I didn't.
But so that's actually really important because a lot of stylists say like, well, I'm at this phase or I'm at that phase. And you were like almost at six figures, if not quite there. Mm-hmm. And yet this is nothing to say that you were doing anything wrong. You didn't have say, a scheduling app and you were doing amazing. And what I think people don't understand when you're in it, and I certainly didn't, is how much harder our life is when we don't have those things. Oh, yeah. But it can feel hard to stop and put them in because it's overwhelming. Well, which calendar one do I? You're already making thousands of choices a day as a stylist. When you have to also make admin decisions, it just creates even more burnout and we don't realize it when we're in it. And I think for you, that was certainly the case.
It was, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So once we kind of figured out like really who you wanted to work with and what did those packages look like, what did you discover about what you were willing to let go of in terms of services? Because you had a lot of services when I met you.
Yeah, I had just like a lot of like personal shopping, like, hey, if you want a couple of outfits, let's meet at the mall and do some shopping. And, and if you're starting out as a stylist, like if you're new, that's great. But I found like I used to do like, and I listened to your podcast about transactional styling and then transformational styling. So up until, working with you, it was a lot of transactional styling, but there was transformations happening, but I just didn't really see that, right? And when we started working together, like, well, who are your clients? Like, kind of what's your niche? And I was like, oh, I help men and women of all ages. And then you thought, okay, well, what is this significant change that you see in clients, like after working with them, like I was thinking about, well, what changes? Oh yeah, well, this man was divorced and wanted to date again. And this girl just got out of university and is going into the workforce. And this mom had a baby and her body's changed. And so they were changes, like everyone's going through a transformation or a change. And then that's what I was like leaning towards is if you're going through such a huge change, probably like a more in-depth package is more beneficial for a client, right? Instead of just like, oh, I need like a couple outfits for, summer, right?
Right.
So I was ready to let go of those kind of little services.
And I think what you're saying, and that's really important, is we did the niche and then we called down the services because you really have to, especially to stand out. So Marie's niche is people that are in transitions. And because she had so many clients that were men and women, there was no need for us to pick one lane because she was so established in both. Like there was no reason to do that. Well, sometimes if a stylist can't get traction in one way or another, I'll say, okay, let's scale back on men, say,
right,
and let's just focus on women. But one of the things about you that you brought that was a complete superpower to this process is your marketing ability. And we're going to talk about that more because I think that there's a lot for stylists to learn here, but from you on that. But I think more so like in terms of people being afraid to not have a million, services, or even yesterday I had a stylist say like, well, how do I stand out? We all have the same services. And your point is good. When you're starting as a stylist, you need to have, shopping and editing and, all of those things potentially on their own, like 3 different, and then you can either include them together or not. Yeah. But before you make the choice to bundle services or kind of go all in on a signature service, you got to know who you're talking to, because it could have been the case that you were dealing with a type of client that was so busy, they only wanted that sort of one-off. And if that made you feel great, we would have gone in that direction. There's no right or wrong thing. It's just that confused buyers never buy. And so we wanted to speed up the buying process because you were doing fantastic in terms of your revenue, even for undercharging, to be honest. But why not make it easier to supercharge your revenue by making it streamlined? And that's what you were super willing to go all in on. So I want to kind of talk about your marketing superpower because it is a real superpower. How did you get so good at marketing, for lack of a better, more specific word? Because you churn out posts that are so engaging and so warm and personable almost daily. Like, how do you keep up that cadence?
Well, I think what really changed for me in my business is showing people what I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like up until, I don't know what, like before COVID and Reels just came on Instagram. I don't know how long Reels have been on, but I think showing people what I do and showing what I can do for them really, really helps. Like people see, oh, okay, well, I like the outfits she put together, and oh, I'm a mom and I don't know how to dress my body anymore. And look what she did with, with her client here. And so I think it's showing them what I can do. And then, well, thanks to you, my marketing message is, like you said, my clients are going through transition. So really honing in on, okay, where were they when we first started working together, and how did working with me transform them into this next phase of their life? Like what type of tools did I give them so that they can, enter this new phase of life feeling great in their clothes, right? And not just their appearance, but how they feel inside as well, right? So I think you really helped me with that marketing piece.
We're definitely talking about like kind of tightening up the messaging, but just your ability, because you and I think are around the same age. And so I think we didn't like grow up with social media. And I do see a split between stylists that are our age and stylists that I work with that are 20, even like in their 20s.
Yeah.
They're just like popping off videos, and your comfort with this. Like you even showed me different ways to like do voiceover videos. Like I literally didn't know. Did you study these things? Like how did you sort of learn it?
Okay.
How did you get there? For the people that are over 40 that want to know.
So I always I had a blog for many years. So I kind of knew how to do, do the copywriting and all that came easily to me. And then during the pandemic, I joined TikTok and I worked for a barre studio. Like it's bar, like it's ballet, Pilates, like that, yoga. And the owner asked me if I could create videos like during the pandemic. So she actually got me into TikTok and video editing and voiceover. So that's what I did. Yeah. So that's how I learned everything. And she really helped me. And then I was like, well, then I can create my own TikTok. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And And so that's kind of like how it happened. I watched tutorials on TikTok. Like, again, this is during the pandemic. So many content creators were like TikTok tutorialists. And so I watched that. I just kind of taught myself and added music and YouTube too, right? Like you can learn a lot on YouTube.
Yes.
So I feel that's how I learned. I was kind of like thrust into it, and it was a little bit intimidating at first, but once you get the handle of it, I love it. And I love editing videos even more than filming them. So
you're just exceptional at it too. Okay. I love that you. So I think interestingly, this wasn't necessarily part of the conversation I had meant to go in, but sharing that you did other things. I think it's really important for our businesses. We forget this, to not have a business that's so packed. I mean, it was during the pandemic, you were saying, but not having a business that's so packed that we can't have outside interests, because those outside interests, like this example, going to the bar studio, can absolutely end up being the serendipitous way that your business gets better. So having outside interests are something that I think lots of us think head down, we have to be busy all the time. When really having a business model that gives you some space to be able to do other things makes your business better. And this is just kind of a side tangent, but it reminded me of that as you were talking.
Yeah. And I also do some acting. Like that's what I went to college for. So I think I'm comfortable, talking in front of the camera and all that. So that helps as well. But just like people want to see you, like they want to see you before they work with you, right?
Yeah, they want to feel a connection, especially with personal styling. Yesterday on the last roundtable we were talking about how it's kind of crazy. You're a stylist and you see people in their underwear, but you're not a doctor or like a masseuse. Like that's, I think as stylists, we really take that for granted, because to us, it's like, oh, well, okay, I've seen a million people in their underwear in my career. It doesn't matter. But to the person on the other side, that is vulnerable. Like you're going into their home, or you're quote unquote judging in their mind their clothes, even though most of us aren't. There's a lot of vulnerability. So what you just said about people want to see you, They do, because they want to be able to feel that connection before they let you in
Yeah.
their house or their closet.
Yeah, because it is very vulnerable going into someone's closet, and even the things some clients tell me, right, like are very personal. So they want to know that they'll be comfortable with you.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of video. I think it's easy when you focus on yourself and how nervous you might be, or in my case, me, because I think you're much more comfortable in front of the camera. With being on film, we forget that it's not for us, it's for other people, and they're probably not viewing us the way we're viewing ourselves.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
when you like switch that mindset that you just gave people, it helps you be more brave, and I think it helps you be more like present in your marketing, which is something you're really, really great at. So one of the things that we talked about was kind of how we narrow down on a niche, even if it seems quite broad, because so many people are going through different transformations and transitions in their life. Did you feel any fear about kind of going down to a niche? Did you worry that it would make it harder for you to market, or you wouldn't have enough to say? Because that's a huge thing that I hear from stylists.
Well, when you told me what you thought my niche was, I was like, oh my God, yes, that made so much sense. And I was so excited. And it just gave me more clarity of like what I needed to do to attract those clients and those buyers. But on the other hand, like people can still hire me if they just need a spring refresh. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to be like, people are still going to come to me for just like, transactional styling. But so I wasn't really concerned about that.
Well, I think the point of it focusing you is good, because I think a lot of people fear it when they just think about it generally. But to your point, we looked at your whole business experience and then we created the niche. We weren't just like, let's just think of a random niche and give it.
No.
And so that's why when I talk about working with established stylists, it's like we're actually drawing from creating a niche can sometimes make your business more yours, because what we're doing is we're just taking the experiences you've had and synthesizing them into the niche and the stories and the marketing that feels best to you, because all of us have had clients that were not ideal. That's just having a business.
Yeah.
But once you start to create marketing that feels right to you, then your point is great. Like other people will find you because that energy of alignment will be there, whether they're in a life transition or not.
Right.
And that's fine. It's just an attraction mechanism, like talking about transitions.
Yeah. Like I used to post just outfit videos, like get ready with me. Oh, I got these pants from Zara and I got, you know what I mean? Like, what is that doing? That's just showing people that, I know about personal style and this is my personal style, but it's not like, do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point if I don't have like a message or something concrete to say? Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And you made the pivot very quickly. I was super impressed. Usually people need to like warm up, and you were just like, next video out the door. I was like, oh, this is amazing. You're a fast mover.
I was ready,
You were ready. What did you feel was the trickiest part about, or the hardest part, or the most cumbersome part of making the changes in your business that we did after having been a stylist so long?
Probably increasing my pricing in my packages. That was probably the hardest and the most like nerve-wracking about the whole process. Yeah.
How do we get you through that? How did that work out?
Okay, well, I had to write this down because you said something to me that was really like profound. I remember you saying you should reach out to your established clients in January saying, hey, I'm booking my established clients for any spring refreshes, or please reach out to me. And I remember in our Q&A doc, I said, well, it's January and people probably, are paying their credit cards from Christmas, and it's midwinter where I live. And maybe I should wait till like February till it's warmer. And you typed back, you said, let's not worry what people are doing with their money or assume we know if they are going to be ready to book. And it was something so simple, but like, just like, pow, I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, why am I can't judge people. Like, you don't know what's going on in their financial situation. Like, you know what I mean? So, and the same thing with increasing my pricing, people are paying the increased prices, right? Like they see the value in it and people are booking with me. But at first, it was, I don't know.
Of course, there's never a time that you raise your rates in your whole career that you don't want to throw up. But then once people start to say yes, you're like, oh, okay. And you'll have people that say no, but you also had people, not just you, all of us, people that say no at your cheaper rate too. So like,
right.
we can't give one more weight. If someone's saying yes to more, even if you have 3 more people that say no, one person in the entire world said yes. The world's a big place. Someone else is going to.
Yeah.
But your point about what you asked me, that question, it's so interesting that stood out to you.
Yeah.
We all do it. And I'm so glad you shared that, because there's definitely going to be people that resonates with. And it's a muscle. It's a practice to not get in our head and fake other people's business. It's like fake. We don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, people are in credit card debt in this country every single day. If people were only buying things they could afford, like, we would not have this problem.
Yeah.
So clearly that's not the issue. I also want to say, though, to people listening, that it wasn't just that she raised her rates and it was just like this magical, oh, everyone's going to pay, because it was a significant amount. But she was also marketing. Like, she was showing the value. She never stopped marketing when we worked together. She hadn't stopped marketing when we started. Like, she didn't come to me not posting. We weren't reviving a dead or cold account. Because if she did, it would have taken longer to get people to be on board, not just with the prices, but just to sign up in general, because we would have been coming from a cold audience. So the fact that Marie didn't stop and kept going even when she needed help is something I want you to kind of take from her, because even if you know there's improvement to be made, keep going, because then you'll at least have a warm audience for when the improvements are made. You can't just stop.
Boom. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What other aspects? So raising the prices felt a little bit tricky. Were there other things? I mean, we definitely added some systems and stuff like that, onboarding, offboarding. Was that pretty seamless?
Yeah, just probably like just the technical details. Like, I never really use Google Docs, or, you know what I mean? Like,
you're a pro by the end.
Yeah. And I had like a MailChimp newsletter, and I put it out maybe like once every 6 months. But then, you got me onto Flowdesk, and just the technical stuff, like transferring all those contacts to Flowdesk, figuring out how Flowdesk works. But now, I do a monthly newsletter, and I've gotten a lot of business from just putting out a newsletter. Yeah. So I think it's mostly, just probably the technical stuff and, setting that stuff. I'm intimidated by technology, not like creating content, but like the behind the scenes, like technology. But then I learned how to do it, and it's easy, and you helped me, and now it's smooth sailing.
You are so in good company on that. Not only have I struggled, but I'd say like 90% of stylists, not fans, unless they're like 22 and they've been building websites since college. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that even people that were bloggers, I have a lot of stylists that were bloggers. It's a very natural, I think, like business sort of upgrade. I think that's just super normal. So I'm glad you shared that, because you're certainly not alone at all. And then I think in our head too, it gets worse. It's worse than it is.
Yes. Yeah. Like,
to your point about YouTube, there's nothing you can't learn.
Yeah, exactly. Just YouTube it, or ask your coach. Yeah.
Or ask me.
Yeah.
Because I've been, and you don't really need that many. If there are stylists listening that are thinking we did like some huge systems overhaul, we like changed 3 things. It wasn't like that.
No.
It wasn't that crazy.
No.
You don't need a very complicated business technologically when you're a stylist. So that's always good news for many of us. But when you talk about some of the sales things we mentioned, like, the newsletter and going to past clients and just all sorts of stuff like that, were there things that you had never thought of? Were there things that were like newer sales processes, and like, how did those?
Yes.
What was it like to sort of do that?
You were like, well, reach out to your established clients. And I never reach out to my established clients. I had let them come to me, like, oh, if they need help, you know what? They'll just contact me. And you're like, no, send out a newsletter just for the clients that you've already worked with and you want to work with again, and just put it out there. And I got a lot of business that way. Just sometimes you just don't think like, right, do they really want to work with me? Like, I didn't think much about repeat clients. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm obsessed
what was I thinking?
Clients.
Yeah.
It makes your life a lot easier, because you don't need as many new ones.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
and since you told me, like, just reach out. I've been getting a lot of business that way. And I love working with my repeat clients, and, and especially the ones that I've worked 2, 3, 4 times already. And so just that one little suggestion you gave me has given me a lot of business for sure.
Yeah, you just did amazing though. You took everything and you just went and did it. You just ran with it.
Okay.
And you can give people the plan, but if they don't implement like you did, then there's not much you can do. So it was very impressive to see. What are you most excited for in the next year with your business?
I'm excited that I am doing what I want to be doing and what I love. Like we were talking about, like sometimes I was doing 6-hour closet consultations, cleaning out the closet, organizing the closet, giving them a shopping list after, maybe putting together some outfits. And I dreaded those. They were just so long. And then they wouldn't work with me again, right? Because I gave them a shopping list and all that. So I'm excited to be doing what I want to be doing. And my packages are very thorough and like step by step. So we're not just going to go shopping. Like I'm going to go and look at your closet, see what's working, what's not. I'm not going to spend, 6 hours cleaning it out and organizing it, but okay. And then we're going to discover your style. Then we can add some pieces. I can put outfits together. Like it's more thorough and I'm really enjoying that. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited that I'm feeling like I'm getting paid what I think I'm worth. Cause I didn't really think I was worth what I was charging now, but now I see that I am. And you gave me that confidence and the tools I needed to, feel that, I am worth it. And what
more than worth.
My packages give a lot of value.
Yeah, and we'll be raising those prices again before 12 years for sure.
Yeah,
okay, deal?
Yes, deal.
Okay.
It's funny because my first client that I had, I think I was charging $60 an hour. This is 12 years ago, and she said, "You're charging way too little." Like my first client, she's like, "You're not charging enough per hour." I was like, "Oh, okay." So then I increased it right away, and yeah.
Wow, what a great client! What a great first client!
Yeah,
that was definitely meant to be.
Yeah, right from the get-go. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here and chatting with me.
Thank you for having me. For all the other stylists out in this podcast world that are listening right now, if you're thinking of working with Nicole, just do it. You will not be disappointed. She has changed my business and the way that I think about my business and has given me confidence. And I'm just so grateful to you. Oh. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being such an exceptional example of what's possible in this industry. It is, I'm so proud of you and I can't wait to watch you continue to grow and raise those prices more.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It turns out that social proof is actually pretty important. So if you could help me out, I'd so appreciate it. If you just had a quick free moment and could leave me a rating or review on the podcast app, that would be killer. And even better, if you wanted to share this episode on Instagram and tag me, that would totally make my day. And it would bring so much more awareness to the podcast and would help other stylists just like you who are looking to build lucrative styling business, because the better each of us does, the better all of us do. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll chat with you next time.